My parents spent an hour humiliating me for dropping out of high school, not knowing I left to run a $10 million company, and now their public meltdown is permanently documented in court filings, apology letters, and viral Facebook screenshots. Hey Reddit, my parents had a golden child, and it wasn't me. I dropped out, built a company, and thought I was free. Nope, they weren't done. Here's how it all went down. I'm Maria. Growing up, my parents always compared me to my sister Aria. She was the golden kid, straight A's, debate team captain, perfect hair in every photo. I was the one taking apart the toaster, forgetting to put it back together, barely scraping by in math. Dad called her college material. He called me the project. When I dropped out of school sophomore year, it was like I'd spit on the family name. They never said failure, but every look at barbecues said it for them. Aria kept winning awards while I faded into the background. Nobody knew I was building a company, and I preferred it that way. Less drama. So, walking into the community center gym that night, I knew it wouldn't be easy. Same peeling walls, same rattling fans, same trophy case with a burned-out bulb. Parents whispered in the back while kids in button-downs lined the rows. I came late on purpose just to see Aria get her academic award, parked my old Civic around the corner instead of the company car, threw on a new blazer, white shirt, dark jeans, nothing flashy, nothing to draw attention. Inside, I found a spot near the photo board with all the students' pictures and achievements. My plan was simple. Clap for Aria, maybe say hi if she had time after, then leave before anyone cornered me. No speeches, no questions about my life, no family drama. Of course, that lasted about 3 minutes. My phone buzzed in my pocket while I was trying to look busy reading the event program. A notification flashed across the lock screen. Slack, CEO alerts, server checklist updated. Jamal and the team were prepping for tomorrow's big demo. I turned the screen face down before anyone saw, but too late. Look who finally decided to show up. My mom's voice cut through the chatter. She was right there by the entrance, arms crossed, lips pressed tight like she'd been practicing this face all day. Her name's Carol. My dad, Mark, was a few steps behind her, hands shoved in his jacket pockets, that look on his face like he was already disappointed, and I hadn't even spoken yet. Evening, I said, keeping my voice level. Carol gave me one of those quick up and down glances like she was scanning for problems. You look fine, she said finally, like it was a stretch. Mark didn't say anything right away. He just stared at me the way he used to when I forgot to take the trash out as a teenager, like he was daring me to mess up again. A couple relatives were with them. My Aunt Lena, who loved asking loud questions about college plans, and Uncle Trick, who believed every problem in life could be solved by tough love. 2 family friends, Daniel and Priya, I barely knew, were hanging back, watching like they didn't want to miss the show. Came to support Aria, I said. That's all. Carol adjusted my blazer sleeve like I was still 15 and going to picture day. We'll see if you can at least sit through one event properly, she muttered. Mark's eyes flicked toward the phone in my hand. Still playing pretend with that little project of yours? He asked. I slid the phone into my pocket. It's a company, I said, keeping my voice even. He made this sharp exhale through his nose, not quite a laugh. Comp? He repeated, like it was the funniest word he'd heard all week. I didn't answer. The last thing I wanted was to start something before Aria even got her award. But already I could feel the attention from the rows nearby. I kept my eyes on the front of the room where a student was giving a little speech about hard work and determination. Anything to look busy. Another buzz in my pocket. Another notification from Jamal about tomorrow's demo. I glanced down without thinking. Mark stepped closer before I could lock the screen. Who's that? He asked. Work, I said. He didn't even try to hide the smirk. Work? He said louder, glancing at the relatives behind him. Right, the famous job you don't actually have. Carol folded her arms tighter. Aunt Lena was definitely smiling now, the way people do when they smell gossip. I felt the heat rising in my neck. Not anger yet, just that creeping sense that this wasn't going to stay quiet much longer. Across the gym, Aria was lining up with other award kids, holding her little certificate folder. She hadn't seen me yet. I wondered if she knew what was brewing in the back of the room. I told myself I could still get through this without a scene. Just sit, clap, leave. but the look on Mark's face said he had other plans. The ceremony kept moving at the front of the room, but near the folding table with the refreshments, my dad was getting louder. He stood with his hand on the table edge, plastic cup of red drink sweating in his grip, voice carrying over the low chatter. "You quit school because you think you're special," he said, not looking at me yet, looking out toward nobody in particular. "Walked out sophomore year like you had everything figured out. This is what happens when kids think they know better than the people who raised them." I stayed near the edge of the crowd, keeping my tone even. "I'm here for Arya. That's it." Mom marched over, tugged at my collar like it was crooked, even though it wasn't. "We raised you better than this, Maria," she said. "People ask what you're doing now. And what do I tell them? That you ran off? That you couldn't handle school like everybody else?" "It's handled," I said. She let out this short laugh that didn't sound amused at all. "Handled? Sure." My phone buzzed again in my hand. I barely glanced down, but Dad was already there, snatching it before I could slip it back into my pocket. He read the notification out loud. "CEO," he said, voice dripping sarcasm. "Oh, you typed that yourself to feel important." "Give it back," I said, holding out my hand. He turned the phone so the relatives nearby could see the lock screen with the word CEO at the top of the text. "You see this? This is what she calls herself now. CEO." He stretched out the letters like it was a joke. Then the phone slipped from his hand, hit the tile floor, and I heard the screen crack. A couple people gasped. Not dramatic, just sharp little intakes of breath. Uncle TK leaned against the wall, shaking his head like he'd been waiting for this moment. "You living at home or living off somebody?" he said. "Because it sure ain't a real job if you can't even finish high school." I kept my mouth shut. Talking wasn't going to help. My cousin Jordan muttered something behind me. I caught the words, "dropout life," and a quiet laugh. Mom grabbed my blazer sleeve then, pulling me a little closer so I had to look down at her. "Do you know how embarrassing it is when people ask about you?" she said. "You think this is cute? Walking in here like nothing happened. At least admit you messed up. Tell Arya not to follow your example before it's too late for her." I said I'm not here to argue, but she was already looking at Dad like she expected him to take over. He set his drink down hard on the table, picked up a plastic spoon, and tapped it against the cup like people do before giving a speech at a wedding. The room quieted a little. "I want to say something," Dad announced. His voice was firm, the kind that makes people turn around whether they care or not. My stomach tightened. "We got kids in this room who worked hard for years to be here tonight," he said, looking out at the rows of students and parents. "Some of them understand the value of sticking with something, finishing what you start, because quitting," he paused just long enough, "quitting ruins futures." He didn't say my name, but his eyes landed on me like a weight. Somebody near the back raised their phone a little higher. Recording. My face felt hot. I shifted back a step, hoping to blend into the chairs and just wait it out, but then his hand slammed down on my shoulder. Not a light grip. His fingers dug in hard, clamping over the collarbone, thumb pressing into the muscle like a vice. He yanked me forward so fast I stumbled into the folding table. Cups rattled, one tipped over. Red drink splashed across the floor. My chest hit the edge. Pain shot through my shoulder, where his hand stayed locked. People actually gasped this time. "Stand here," he barked, his voice sharp enough to cut through the whole gym. "You wanted to show up, then listen." I tried to twist out of his grip, but he shoved me straight again, fingers still crushing into the same spot until my neck jolted sideways. It wasn't just control anymore. It was angry, physical. The room went dead quiet, except for the drip of red drink off the table onto the floor. "You're causing a scene," he said. "I'm standing here," I said, voice low, but nobody seemed to hear me over his next words about responsibility and wasted potential. "Look at you," Dad said, shaking his head like I'd done it on purpose. Before he could say more, the side door opened and Arya came rushing in from the hallway, still holding her award folder. Her hair was slightly messy from the wind outside, cheeks flushed from pictures. "What is going on?" she asked, eyes wide as she looked from me to the drink stain to Dad's hand, still on my shoulder. Nobody answered her. She set her folder on a chair and pushed past Mom, grabbed my wrist, and pulled me toward the door. "We're leaving," she said firmly. I didn't argue. My legs felt shaky as I followed her out, the room full of whispers behind us. When we reached her car, she threw her folder in the back seat, slammed the door, then turned to me with her hands tight on the wheel. "What was that?" she asked. "What is going on with you?" I wiped at the sticky red drink on my blazer. It just smeared worse. My shoulder burned under my shirt where the skin was already red. "I didn't drop out because I was lazy," I said finally. "The company's real. We've got 23 employees now. Last priced round valued us around 10 million. Series B term sheets are circling." She blinked like she didn't hear me right. "We're about to start our Series B round next month," I added. "I've been in Tech Weekly twice this year. Big client demo tomorrow. It's all legit." Arya stared for a long 10 seconds. Then she shoved the keys in the ignition. "Okay," she said, voice sharp. "We're getting you checked out and we're calling someone official because that was not normal back there." On the drive to urgent care, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Mom sent 3 messages in a row. "You embarrassed us. You think money excuses disrespect? Wait until the family hears about this." Dad texted once. "Acting like a victim won't save you from the truth." Arya read them out loud, face tight. They seriously think they're the victims right now. The drive to urgent care only took 12 minutes. Neither of us said much. She kept shaking her head like she was replaying the scene. Inside, the receptionist looked up when we walked in. Her eyes went straight to my stained shirt and the cracked phone in my hand. "You need police?" she asked immediately. "Non-emergency," Arya said before I could answer. "We just need this documented." "Non-emergency," Arya said before I could answer. "We just need this documented." The receptionist nodded, handed her a clipboard, and picked up the phone like this was routine for her. While we waited, my phone kept buzzing. "Mom again. Don't you dare twist this online. Families handle things privately." Then another. "Your father was only trying to stop you from ruining Arya's night." Arya snapped. She typed back. "He shoved her into a table in front of 50 people. There are cameras, Mom." No reply. A nurse in navy scrubs called me back a few minutes later. She had a digital camera around her neck, standard for documentation. "Where'd he grab you?" she asked. I pulled off the ruined blazer. She sucked in a breath when she saw the angry red marks across my shoulder and upper arm. One spot was already purpling near the collarbone. "Did he shove you too?" "Yeah," I said. She snapped photos from 3 angles, then had me turn my head left and right to check my neck. "Lose balance? Hit your head?" "Almost," I said, "caught the table edge." "Good thing," she said, jotting notes on a clipboard. In the hallway, I heard Arya talking to the receptionist about witness names. She kept saying phones were out during the whole thing. At least 3 people had been recording. The nurse asked if I wanted to press charges. "Non-emergency report first," I said. She nodded like she heard that a lot. When she left to get the doctor, I pulled out my phone. The cracked screen barely worked, but I managed to open email. Short message to Jamal. "Family incident. Documenting everything. Need lawyer contact. Will explain later." He wrote back in under 5 minutes. "Don't post anything. Keep all receipts. I'll get Paula on calendar tomorrow morning." Doctor came in then. Older guy, gray hair, quick movements. He pressed on the bruises near my shoulder and chest. Asked about pain level, wrote mild contusion and possible sprain in the chart. Told me to ice it tonight. Watch for stiffness tomorrow. This was supposed to be a nice night, I said mostly to myself. He didn't comment. Just printed paperwork, signed it, handed it over like he'd done this 1,000 times. On the way out, the receptionist gave us a non-emergency police report form. Arya filled it out at the counter while I held the ice pack against my shoulder. Driving home, she was quiet for the first few blocks. Then she exploded. "They acted like you ruined their lives just by showing up," she said, gripping the steering wheel hard. "Like you deserved it. Did you see Aunt Lena filming? I swear she had her phone out the whole time." "Maybe," I said. Arya pulled out her phone at a red light. "I'm asking her," she said, typing fast. "And Jordan and Priya, somebody's got video." I leaned back against the seat. My shirt felt cold where the ice pack pressed through the fabric. Back at the place Arya and I share, I went straight to my room, showered off the sticky mess, tossed the blazer in a trash bag instead of the hamper. Evidence now, not laundry. The shirt joined it. So did the cracked phone once I finished transferring photos to my laptop. I took pictures of everything. The red stains, the shoulder marks, the police report form, the ice pack wrapper, even the cracked screen at 3 different angles. Each file went into a folder labeled Incident 5.24. I uploaded copies to my email and sent the link to Jamal. He replied with just one line, "Keep everything. Paula will need it all." I sat on the bed with the folder open on my laptop. Arya was in the hall talking to someone on speaker about witness names. My shoulder throbbed, but all I could think about was Dad's face when he shoved me in front of everyone like I didn't even belong there. By the time we got to Paula's office the next morning, the family group chat had already exploded. Mom posted a paragraph saying she was heartbroken. Her own daughter would drag the family name through the mud for sympathy. Dad added, "We tried to discipline her. Now she wants to play the victim." A cousin tried defending me. Mom immediately wrote, "Kids today have no respect for elders." Arya screenshotted everything. Paula's office sat on the 10th floor of a glass building downtown. Clean lobby, quiet hallways, that faint smell of carpet glue and coffee. We didn't even sit long before Paula walked in. Dark suit, gray streak in her hair, legal pad in one hand, phone in the other. "Morning," she said. "Let's get to work." She didn't waste time. Police reports in progress, next steps, witness statements, medical records, property damage claim for the phone, possible protective order if they keep contacting me, civil claims for assault, mediation with the community center about their lack of security protocols. That's the menu. I pulled my laptop out. "They're saying I made everything up," I said. Paula motioned for me to turn it around. I showed her the incorporation papers with my name listed as founder and CEO, payroll summary with 23 employees, redacted financials, screenshots of the Tech Weekly features, and the signed client contracts. She looked through everything quickly, nodded. "Perfect. That kills the unemployed dropout story they're pushing." While we talked, Arya's phone buzzed nonstop. Mom was texting her things like, "Real families handle problems privately, and we're the ones humiliated here." Dad sent, "Tell her to stop hiding behind lawyers." Paula just said, "Forward all of it. Courts love documentation." Then more relatives started messaging. One aunt wrote that Mom and Dad were just old school and I should respect their intentions. Another uncle said maybe I provoked Dad by showing up uninvited. Nobody mentioned the video where Dad shoved me into the table. Paula kept typing letters while Arya forwarded screenshots. She sent one to the community center demanding security camera footage. Another to my parents' lawyer, if they had one yet, saying all contact needed to go through her office from now on. A third outlined the property damage claim for my cracked phone and the ruined blazer. Around noon, Jamal texted, "Board call at 1 o'clock. Just give quick facts before rumors spread." I dialed in from the office lobby. "Family incident," I told them. "Police report filed. Lawyer handling everything. Company unaffected." One board member asked if my name would hit the news. "Not if we keep things quiet," I said. They moved on to financials like nothing happened. That afternoon, Paula called my parents' lawyer for the first time. The guy tried saying it was just a family disagreement. Paula cut him off. "My client ended up in urgent care with documented bruising. We have video, photos, witness statements, and texts showing harassment after the fact. This isn't a disagreement, it's assault." The lawyer asked if we planned to go public. Paula said, "That depends on your clients." Meanwhile, Dad emailed me directly again. "Be a woman. Come talk face to face. Only cowards hide behind lawyers." Paula forwarded it straight to the protective order file. That evening, the first witness video landed in my inbox. Clear shot of Dad shoving me into the table. You could hear Mom yelling, "Stop embarrassing us," while people in the background said, "Whoa," and "That's too far." Paula watched it once, closed her laptop, and said, "They're done pretending this was nothing." She started drafting the mediation demands, written apologies, no contact agreement, reimbursement for damages, new community center policies, and settlement funds going towards something useful. Not to me personally, but to create a scholarship for kids who don't take the traditional path. While she typed, Mom posted again, "Raising kids today is thankless. Do one thing to correct them, and they act like you're monsters." Somebody in the comments asked about the video. Mom ignored it. Paula smiled thinly when Arya read the post out loud. "Every word she writes makes this easier for us," she said. By the end of the day, we had witnesses, medical records, screenshots, videos, financial documents, and draft letters ready. The mediation date was set for next week. My parents kept posting about family loyalty. Relatives kept arguing in the comments. Arya kept screenshotting everything like she was running an election campaign. Paula just said, They have no idea how bad this looks to anyone outside their bubble. And she was right. By the next morning, the family group chat was a battlefield. Mom posted paragraphs about disrespectful children who throw away their future. Dad kept calling me a coward for hiding behind lawyers. And half the relatives were arguing with each other in the comments. A cousin asked if anyone saw the video where Dad shoved me into the table. Mom replied, "That was discipline, not abuse." Arya screenshotted the whole thing for Paula. I barely had time to scroll because Jamal texted at 8 o'clock a.m. Client demo at 10 o'clock. Be ready. The Chicago deal was huge. 60 locations, big contract value, perfect timing for our Series B pitch deck. I threw on a clean shirt, grabbed my laptop, and headed to the office. My phone buzzed nonstop the entire drive. Dad. A real daughter would talk to her parents instead of cops. Mom. We sacrificed everything for you, and this is how you repay us? Some uncle. Your parents raised you better than to sue your own family. I ignored all of it. By 9:30, the team was setting up in our biggest conference room. Kevin, our lead dev, was running final checks on the platform. Jamal had his laptop open for notes. I had the slide deck ready, hair still damp from the shower. At 9:42, Kevin looked up from his screen, pale. Main server's down. I crossed the room fast. Down? Database locked. Backup cold, he said. The client call was already live on the big monitor. 2 people in suits were smiling politely, waiting for us to start. Fail over now, I said. It'll take 15 minutes, Kevin warned. I unmuted the call. Technical issue on our side. 12-minute delay. Appreciate your patience. Then I muted and looked at the team. Bring backup up. Load demo data. We go live at 10 sharp. Jamal typed updates to the client's project manager while Kevin hammered commands into his terminal. Another dev checked error logs for anything worse than bad luck. Meanwhile, my phone buzzed on the table. Mom again. You've humiliated us enough. Stop dragging this out. I shoved it aside. Focus, I told the team. At 9:56, Kevin gave a thumbs up. Backup online, data restored. 10 o'clock on the dot. I unmuted. Thanks for waiting. Let's begin. The demo ran smooth after that. The client asked about reliability, clearly thinking about the crash they just saw. I explained our failover process, promised more automation, answered every question without hedging. At the end, the client said, "If this is how you handle problems under pressure, we're confident moving forward." The deal was worth $300,000. The team finally breathed. Jamal leaned back in his chair, grinning. Biggest deal yet, he said. While they celebrated with stale donuts from the break room, I checked my phone. Mom posted on Facebook, "Ungrateful children will regret disrespecting parents one day." Dad commented, "Real women don't sue family." Some aunt replied, "Real men don't put their kids in the hospital either." The comment thread was 50 messages deep. Arya sent screenshots to Paula. Then Dad texted me directly. "You think this money makes you better than us? You're nothing without family." Paula replied to my forward in under 5 minutes. Every text strengthens the case. Don't respond. By noon, the signing contract from the Chicago client hit my inbox. Jamal practically danced into my office. $300,000, he said, despite the chaos. Arya called right after. 2 more videos just came in, she said. One shows the shove close-up. Another caught Mom yelling about family embarrassment. Paula already has copies. While she talked, Mom posted again. Kids today run to lawyers instead of respecting parents. Disgusting. Comments blew up instantly. Someone linked the video. Mom deleted the post 5 minutes later, but Arya had already saved screenshots. Paula emailed mid-afternoon. Protective order filing tomorrow. Venue mediation date confirmed. Settlement terms in progress. Jamal leaned in my doorway. "Your parents are doing half our job for us," he said. "Every post, every text, it's evidence." I nodded. They can't help themselves. By the time I left the office, work was ahead. Biggest deal signed. Series B deck nearly ready. But the family side was getting uglier. Dad sent another email around 6 p.m. "A daughter who drags her parents to court will regret it when we're gone." Paula filed it under harassment without blinking. The no-contact order was coming, and they still wouldn't shut up. But by Thursday morning, Arya was already texting me before I even got out of bed. Got the full video close-up. Sending to Paula now. Paula called 15 minutes later. This video seals it, she said. I'm filing for a temporary protective order today. Your parents can't contact you after this. Good, I said, because they won't stop texting. She wasn't surprised. Send me everything they've sent you since Monday. So I forwarded the angry paragraph-length text from Dad about me shaming the family and acting like a victim, plus the one from Mom saying I owed them an apology for walking out during their speech. Paula filed the order by noon. Judge signed it by 3 p.m. At 5 p.m., Dad emailed me from a different address. Subject line, meet woman to woman. He wrote, "This has gone on long enough. Stop hiding behind lawyers and face your parents like an adult." I sent it to Paula immediately. She replied 5 minutes later. Violation post-service, documenting. Arya called while I was still reading the email. Mom's on Facebook again, she said. She posted some long thing about ungrateful kids humiliating their families for attention. Didn't name you, but come on. I looked it up. The comments were a war zone. Some people said kids today were soft. Others said parents shouldn't be putting hands on grown children in public. Someone even linked the blurry video clip that was already making the rounds in group chats. Jamal saw it too. He texted me, "I'm drafting talking points of press calls. We stick to safety, accountability, zero personal details." The next morning, the community center board emailed Paula. They wanted mediation to avoid ongoing drama. She smirked when she told me. "Perfect leverage," she said. "We demand policy updates, security training, de-escalation steps, clear rules for removing people without violence." By noon, the community center asked to accelerate the schedule. To stop the public drama, they moved mediation up to that afternoon. We started mediation that afternoon. The mediator kept us in separate rooms. Messages went back and forth through counsel. Dad leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, scowl on his face like he'd been dragged here against his will. Mom kept shaking her head every time Paula spoke. Their lawyer started with, "Clearly there were mistakes on both sides." Paula cut him off. "No. My client was shoved, grabbed hard enough to leave bruises, had property damaged, and was humiliated in public. We have medical records, photos, multiple videos, and witness statements. There is no mutual fault here." Dad slammed his hand on the table. "She showed up just to make us look bad." I didn't even look at him. "I showed up for Arya," I said flatly. Mom jumped in. "You embarrassed this family, posting things online, running to lawyers instead of talking to us like normal people." Paula stayed calm. "She did try to talk to you. That ended with bruises and a broken phone." The back and forth went like that for almost an hour. Their side wanted mutual apologies, no admission of wrongdoing, and some nonsense about me agreeing not to defame them. Paula just kept laying out evidence. The urgent care photos, the cracked phone, the texts violating the protective order, screenshots of Mom's Facebook posts, even messages from relatives saying Dad had gone too far. By the second session 2 days later, their lawyer finally caved on most points. The terms landed like this: written apologies from both parents that clearly acknowledged what happened, a no-contact agreement for 6 months, no direct messages or conversations, not a stay-away order, the community center adopting new policies, staff training, de-escalation steps, and written rules for removing disruptive guests. My parents agreeing to private counseling sessions about conflict management before any contact with me resumed. Settlement funds going into a new scholarship for students taking non-traditional paths, named after our grandma, the one person in the family who actually supported me dropping out. I added the $800 phone reimbursement straight into the scholarship fund. Felt better there than in my pocket. The only sticking point was the apology letter. Their lawyer kept sending drafts full of half statements like, "Sorry if anyone felt upset." Paula kept rejecting them. Mom complained the whole time about being forced to apologize to her own daughter. Dad muttered about kids today needing everything handed to them. On day 3, we finally got a version Paula approved. "We're sorry for our actions that night and the distress caused. Not perfect, but clear enough for the record." Paula leaned toward me after reading it. "Take this win," she said quietly. "Protect your mental space. This is as much accountability as we're getting without dragging this through court for a year. I signed the settlement. Arya did too as a witness. My parents didn't look at me when they signed theirs. Outside the mediation room, Dad said to no one in particular, "Ridiculous waste of time." Mom crossed her arms and muttered, "Families used to handle things privately." I didn't say a word. The settlement wrapped up on a Thursday afternoon in a bland conference room downtown. White walls, long table, stack of papers at one end. Paula handed me a pen first. I signed my name under every section. No contact order, scholarship agreement, community center policy updates, reimbursement paperwork. Across from me, Dad scrawled his signature like the pen offended him. Mom took longer, muttering under her breath about families used to handle things privately while signing the page about apologies. Neither of them looked up. Arya leaned back in her chair with her arms crossed, watching them. Her phone was buzzing every 2 minutes from the family group chat, but she ignored it. When the last page was signed, Paula said, "That concludes the agreement. You'll each get copies for your records." Dad pushed the papers away. "Finally," he said, "we can all move on from this nonsense." Arya sat forward. "Move on? You dragged her out of a public event, shoved her hard enough to send her to urgent care, and then acted like she embarrassed the family." Mom rolled her eyes. "Arya, we've already apologized. Don't start again." "No," Arya said louder this time. "You keep saying she ruined her future because she didn't go to college because she dropped out. Like she's some failure you had to save the family from. Do you even know what she's been doing the last 6 years?" Dad frowned. "Working some little tech job." I stayed quiet. This was Arya's moment. She pulled her phone out and opened the Tech Weekly article Paula had saved. She turned the screen toward them. "Last priced round around 10 million, she said clearly. 23 employees. Series B term sheets already in. Clients in 3 states. She was on the phone closing a $300,000 deal while you were posting Facebook rants about how she embarrassed you." Mom's mouth actually fell open a little. Dad leaned forward like he didn't believe her. "Lies," he said automatically. Arya swiped to the next document. The incorporation papers with my name listed as founder and CEO, then the signed client contract, then the payroll summary. "Paula verified everything," she said. "So did the board for her company. You called her a failure in front of 50 people while she was running something worth more than this entire neighborhood." Nobody spoke for a full 10 seconds. Mom finally said, "Why didn't she tell us?" "Because you don't listen," Arya snapped. "Because the first thing you do when you hear something is judge it, control it, or tell everyone at church like it's gossip for after choir practice." Dad sat back in his chair, face stiff. Paula gathered the papers into a neat stack like she'd seen this kind of family meltdown before. "My client doesn't owe anyone an explanation," she said. "The point of today was accountability for what happened at the event. That's done." But Arya wasn't done. "You know what she did with the settlement money?" she asked them. "She put it straight into a scholarship for kids who don't follow the traditional path. Named it after Grandma, because she's the only one in this family who actually believed in her." Mom shifted uncomfortably. Dad looked down at the table. "She could have kept the money," Arya said. "Could have dragged you through court for a year. Instead, she turned it into something good while you were busy acting like you were the victims." Paula closed her briefcase. "We're finished here," she said. Arya stood. "Yeah," she said, "we are." 2 weeks later, the scholarship launch was held in the same community center gym where everything had gone down. New policies were already posted on the bulletin board. No physical contact during removals. Mandatory de-escalation training for staff. Clear guest removal procedures. Rows of folding chairs faced a small stage with a banner reading, "The Evelyn Grant Scholarship for Non-Traditional Achievement." Grandma's name in big blue letters. I sat in the back with Arya while the community center director gave a short speech about turning difficult moments into progress. Parents clapped. A few students looked curious. Mom and Dad were in the second row. They hadn't looked at me since walking in. When the director announced the scholarship amount, $50,000 to start, funded by the settlement and my own contribution, a ripple went through the room. Then he called up the first recipient, a junior who'd built 3 small apps but struggled with regular classes. The kid grinned like he couldn't believe it was real. Arya leaned over to Mom and Dad. That's where the money went, she whispered. Not to lawyers, not to revenge, to help kids like him. Neither of them said anything. After the ceremony, a few parents came over to shake my hand. One thanked me for making something good come out of all the chaos. Another said his son wanted to apply next year. Across the room, Mom and Dad stood near the exit. They looked smaller than usual, like people realizing too late they'd been wrong about everything. Arya walked past them without a word. That night at home, she knocked on my door. You should have seen their faces, she said, grinning. When I read those numbers out loud, they didn't know whether to argue or faint. I shrugged. It's not about them anymore. She nodded. Yeah, but it was satisfying. Mom tried calling twice after the no-contact order expired, left voicemails like nothing happened. We should have dinner. People are asking why you won't talk to us. And no mention of the settlement, the scholarship, or the apology letters they'd signed, just acting like everything was normal. I didn't call back. Dad sent one email. Family comes first. You made this bigger than it needed to be. I forwarded it to Paula. She said I didn't owe them anything unless I wanted to talk. Arya saw them once at a cousin's birthday party. She told me later Mom was still complaining that people took my side because of money. Dad said I should have handled things privately, like it was my fault cameras existed. But nobody was listening to them anymore. Arya said it best one night when we grabbed dinner after work. They're quiet now because they lost, she said. Not in court, in front of everybody. I nodded. She wasn't wrong. By Christmas, I realized I didn't feel angry anymore. Just done. The scholarship kept growing. Work kept growing. Arya and I stayed close. Mom and Dad faded into background noise. Loud on the internet. Quiet in person. Smaller than they used to be. The story wasn't theirs anymore. The scholarship committee met every quarter, and each time we awarded a new round, I felt like a piece of the weight I'd carried for years fell away. Kids who built things in garages, who taught themselves coding from YouTube, who started businesses with babysitting money. They were the ones applying. They were me, 10 years ago, but with a little more hope because someone believed in them. Arya came with me to every award night. She'd sit in the front row, phone ready, documenting like she always did. Sometimes she'd whisper, Grandma would have loved this, and I knew she was right. The scholarship wasn't just money, it was proof that a different path wasn't failure. Meanwhile, my parents stayed the same online. Mom posted vague Bible verses about honoring parents. Dad wrote long rants about family unity and respect. They never mentioned me by name, but everyone knew. Relatives stopped engaging. Some even messaged Arya to say they were tired of the drama. Screenshots still ended up in Paula's inbox, but by then, they were just noise. At work, we closed our Series B round. Valuation jumped. Headlines ran. For the first time, my name trended in business circles. The same week, Mom posted, Pride comes before the fall. No one commented. One night, after another 12-hour day at the office, I sat alone in the conference room with the city lights spread out beyond the glass. My phone buzzed. It was a voicemail from Dad. His voice sounded smaller, older. You think you don't need us, but family's forever. Call us back. He didn't sound angry, just lost. I saved the voicemail in a folder with all the rest. Evidence, history, and receipts. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just listened, then pressed save because that was who I was now. Documented, measured, protected. Arya found me staring at the skyline. You okay? She asked. Yeah, I said. For the first time, I think I really am. We left the office together, late night air cool against our faces. On the walk to the car, she nudged me. You know, when you were 16 and dropped out, they swore you'd ruin your life. And now, I asked? She smiled. Now you're rewriting the whole story. I didn't answer, just looked up at the city lights, shoulder no longer aching, heart no longer waiting for their approval. For the first time, I knew the story was mine, and it always would be.